I finished my sketchbook, so let's go through the sketchbook tour. Also, I made more sketchbooks. You can take alcohol markers and Posca markers and Copic markers, and I haven't tried paint yet, but I think those will probably work too. Let's get into it because we all have goldfish memory brain. Alright, if you're new here, I'm Ange, also known as Pikarar. I make apparel, home goods. I dabble in all sorts of things, like I recently got into ceramics, and also I've done mural painting. I like using my laser cutter to make a bunch of shenanigans. But recently, I've also been very into traditional art. I think for the past decade, I've been mostly doing digital, but I've been getting back into traditional, and it's just been really satisfying to also just have my own sketchbook. I've actually done a little bit of a walkthrough of these first couple of pages in a previous video, but in this video I want to go through all of the pages and actually talk about all the different materials I used as well. So if you're new to traditional, or if you're trying to get into traditional, I would say you can start with any kind of sketchbook. I don't think you need a specific one. Like, I have this Midori, and it has kind of semi-thin pages, so if you use like really dark markers, it will bleed through. Like, see this giraffe? Oh, here you go. You can kind of see that it bleeds through, but I wouldn't let that discourage you, and just have something that you can just kind of doodle in and sketch in is a good starter. I really like these markers. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but this is from Kako, I think. Really small and portable thin gel pens, and these are super nice. They won't bleed through the Midori. But the book I'm going through today is actually a little bit thicker stock paper. What's nice about these is that I was able to use alcohol markers and it didn't bleed through, which is really nice. It kind of has this like ivory coat to it, and I actually have these books. They're gonna be in my store soon, and they have the same type of paper. So you can actually get them and then try with alcohol markers and see if you like them. For a lot of these beginning pages, I used Ohuhu markers. I have like a couple pack of them. They're alcohol markers, so you can see it leaves this like kind of watery residue, and it's because there's a lot of ink inside of it. For the first couple of pages in this book, I was really just experimenting and seeing what I wanted to do with the markers, especially coming from digital. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to use the markers. I think it wasn't until this point where I started thinking about them as paint, or like paint brushes. So here I kind of draw it the same way I would digital, where I have like an outline and I just color in. It's very simple. This one I was trying to do painterly, but I feel like it's still very much outline and then color in. But then once I get here, I start experimenting, and then from this page and onward is when I really started to experiment with alcohol markers. These sticky notes are mostly to cover up like messy parts. So there were pieces underneath I wasn't happy with, and I would just cover up and then continue drawing on top. And it makes like a cool scrapbooky look. I think dogs are actually really hard to paint. This is Krebi. She's Shippo's bestie. And then I also started getting into drawing shoes, which are really fun. I started this book in mid-July, I believe. And then I kind of took like a couple weeks break. And then I really started getting into it in August. And it's around this time that I started drawing in it almost every day. I really like this painterly style that I was trying out, and dark colors are kind of hard for me. Like, even this doesn't look that dark, but it's kind of difficult for me because I naturally gravitate towards pastel or lighter colors. These two foamed. Anywhere I can fill empty spaces, I will. It's just like an OCD thing I have. This one came out really nicely. It's actually foams. We were thinking of scanning it and then maybe printing it out. Foamed these, and then I drew around it. This was an experimental page. A friend came over and then she drew this, and this one as well, and then I just kind of filled it up. I think taking advantage of the vertical space is cool as well. I don't do it quite often, but sometimes I will. Here's some full spreads I was trying. You can kind of see, like, if you go hard on the alcohol markers, it will imprint onto the other page if you know, close it and it's a hot day. But I don't know, I don't mind it. Kind of gritty, gives it character. Here's another full page, and all of these are using the Ohuhu markers. This is Calcifer. I think this point in the book, I was getting kind of tired of the markers because my comfort zone is definitely ballpoint pen, and so I kind of reverted here. And then experimenting with more colors, I think I still wasn't very sure if I liked the markers at this point, like how I wanted to use it. These were super experimental as well. This one, instead of starting out with an outline, which is how I usually draw, I just dabbed it with like a lot of color and then started going in the negative areas and finding the light areas and adding the flowers. So it was very like a reverse kind of process, which was fun. Back to ballpoint, my comfort area. I really like this page, but mostly because my favorite color is red. I think fish are really fun to draw as well because they have scales and you can kind of just be abstract about it. This is a character I've been trying to develop. I just haven't drawn enough of it. It's Ma, a little ghost dog. More experimentation with color. I was trying to do like a non-Shiba color, and then this is what I ended up with. More fruit. Fruit is like a good way to study if you want to start painting. Another vertical page. I really like drawing tulips because they're so wiggly. They have a very organic shape to them. Oh, here's a second one. Also chains. Chains are a fun thing to draw. And I've always liked drawing knives and swords, and these are much more like abstract landscape paintings too. Oh, okay, this is when I started to transition to a different alcohol marker. So this one is called Bianyu. I think you can get it at your local art store. Very similar to Ohuhu, but they have different colors and they also have different ends. So if you notice, there's like a broad end and a kind of thin end. The thin side is very thin, which is nice. Well, not super thin, but like medium thin. And so it can give you these kind of lines. For Ohuhu, it's not as thin. It's more like a brush. So here's like a brush to compare it with the Bianyu. It's more like a pen than a brush. And what that looks like is this would be like the pen kind of texture, and then brush would be more like this. So see these outlines, they're much more thick and these are thinner. I don't know if you can tell. That's the only reason I kind of go between these two brands, is I do like the thin pen, but sometimes I do like the brush. I kind of use them interchangeably though. Here's me messing with colored pencil. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I liked the colored pencil, but I do like the black and white border. Ooh, another thing I really like doing is landscape, but just like very minimal. So here's some pictures I actually took while I was hiking in these places, and then I just referenced the photos and drew black and white versions. I think in a separate video I can also talk about how I experimented, because this here, the experimentation that I did was I actually just started out with the color and I just watched the colors first, and then I filled it with ballpoint pen. This in itself is also an experimentation, like looking at something and then trying to simplify it. A lot of this book is experimentation, like even these, like these more abstract landscapes, blotching the colors first and then putting on the line art. More fish and more flowers. Flowers are really fun. I think they're like a new thing I discovered this year. Here's some more black and white. Also me planning my booth, because sometimes I travel to conventions and trade shows. This was me trying 2 colors only. As you can see, it's like, this is the thinner Bianyu pen. I get color paralysis sometimes, so it's easy to just pick 2 colors and go with it. Kind of like this one. This one I referenced a photo I took in Mount Rainier, and then I just try to paint it. Yeah, this is the Bianyu. I can tell because the stroke is much thinner. it's more precise. The brush is less precise, so you can do stuff like this and kind of scribble around, but if you want to do more fine line, then I recommend a thinner alcohol brush. This one is also playing around just 2 colors. I think limiting yourself is also a way to experiment. These ones are more painterly. I think I tended to switch between like, did I want to do more painterly, use more colors, or more line art? Line art is definitely my comfort zone, but it is also satisfying to do line art in like the very stark dark areas and light areas. This one, I believe we went to a garden, so I started sketching some flowers we saw there. This one, I actually want to turn it into a jacket, so I think I might do something like that for this. This one I was planning out a spooky Patreon design. I ended up not even going this direction and I used something else, but it's good to jot down ideas. Here's some more colors. I remember I did this in New York. I was referencing a friend's plant that was in their apartment, and then some stamp ideas. I don't know, just stuff I thought about. Okay, so when we went to New York, we went to the Natural History Museum. These were some of the things that we saw there. They had those like full-blown exhibits with the animals in the background inside, and then there were a lot of plants, so I drew that. A lot of animals. We spent a lot of time in the, I think, North American animals section. Dude, mountain lions are kind of hard to draw. Very fun shapes. I think going out and drawing from reference is where I get the best kind of spreads, or like the spreads I'm most proud of. It's just more diverse, I feel like. Like at home, the most I'll draw is Shiba Inus. My colors are limited to the colors that I like to use, but then when I go out, I feel like there's much more to look at. There's stuff that I wouldn't normally draw and compositions I wouldn't normally make. So I did really enjoy these spreads just because we were in a new place. I think we were drawing at that museum for like a couple hours. Like I did many spreads within that one day. And then I remember coming home back to our friend's apartment and then finishing up these guys. More black and white. I think this was some concepts I wanted to do. If I ever did a Nike, I don't know, Nike tribute, because I really like Nike. Maybe some Shibas running and the swoosh, that'd be fun. This page, I remember I started trying out colored pencil. I want to preface with colored pencil on this type of paper is not challenging, but also not like simple. You have to go over it a couple times because the paper just won't take the colored pencil, but it also turns out really nice. So I did the outline last. Yeah, I did the alcohol markers first, and then I went over with colored pencil. This one is all alcohol markers. I think I alternated between Bianyo and Ohuhu. Bianyo also has ballpoint pens and markers, so this is some of the black ones that they had. Look at that little guy. His name is Bippy. More shoes, more landscape. I think squishing in a little landscape thumbnail is always good practice, just to continue the process of simplifying. Oh, the other thing this book can take is Posca markers, so any acrylic type markers. I think I'm saying it right, Posca? Yeah, it takes it really well. It won't bleed through, as you can see. So this page, I was trying it out. I still don't quite know how I want to do acrylic markers, but this was my attempt. Back to more line art and some thumbnails. What was this? I don't remember. I think I was sketching for something. I feel like it's a stamp rally concept. That's why there's like little boxes. This one I remember doing at the mall. I was at the mall with some friends, but they were shopping and I was waiting for them. So I was kind of doodling these guys. And then if you guys follow Sophie McPike, she has this exercise called the Scribble Brigade where you can just scribble landscapes, and again, it's like simplifying what you see, just designating the light and the dark, and you can make these cool thumbnails. I really enjoy drawing nature, if you couldn't tell by us going through this sketchbook. This one was a mix of alcohol markers and acrylic markers. This one I used, not Posca, but let me get it. It's called Simtap. I have these colors. How they're different from Posca's is mostly the colors. They have much more colors, and then they also have really thin tips, as you can see. Posca is much thicker. Yep, much thicker. So if you want more details, I would recommend this brand, Simtap. That's how I did these white areas, because acrylic can go on top of other colors and make it opaque. Oh, this one was thumbnailing for Patreon. I actually went with this idea. This is what the print ended up looking like. This one, we were at the Bellevue Botanical Garden. It's near Seattle, and they had really cool plants there. I really like this one. Me attempting to paint again. Was this Ohuhu? I think so. Oh, a friend did these. I let her borrow my sketchbook because I wanted to show her that the paper is really nice. I did all of the black and white ones around. This one's actually done with pencil. What's also nice about this paper is that it doesn't really smudge. You can also sketch with pencil. And it didn't really imprint onto this page. These were some studies referencing Hekala's work. I have their book, so this is some of their creatures. This one is more alcohol studies. These pastel colors contrasted with dark colors is really fun. This one I was thumbnailing Shippo, my dog. He's like laying under the curtains. I actually want to paint a big version of this, but I haven't gone around to it. Okay, this one we went to San Diego Zoo, so another set of fun spreads where I draw a bunch of animals that we saw. I think what's fun about live drawing and going out to draw is you can simplify and just kind of play on what you're seeing. So we saw a rhino there. I had a fun time drawing its little shapes broken out like this. It had an interesting like neck thing. More zoo stuff. I forgot what this thing was. It's like an anteater pig thing. Here's me playing with the SimTap markers. They're acrylic, so they're not as shiny as the alcohol markers. Oh, this was also the acrylic markers. It came out super vibrant. I was really surprised. I think I was just planning a bunch of stuff and just a bunch of doodles. I doodle a lot around my notes. This whole page, this whole spread is the acrylic markers from SimTap. So I was really experimenting with how thin they could go, but also how much I could paint with them. And they do pretty well. Back to alcohol markers. I think I like alcohol markers the best, probably because it feels the most like watercolory. I should try watercolor in these. I don't know if it will work though. Another thing I've been wanting to do is like blanket designs. Like I have done blankets in the past, like these fleece ones or like this persimmon and strawberry one, but I kind of want to do like a quilt design. We'll see if that happens. Oh, I think I started Inktober around this time. Yeah, this was like Daisy. I don't remember what this one was. I also kind of deviated from the schedule. This one was Paw. This one I think was like Sky Fawn. I forget this one. Yeah, I deviated a lot. Just whatever I felt like drawing. But as long as I was drawing, that made me happy. This one was I approached it like a painting. I set the page as pink first, then blue, then started adding layers and layers on top. Let me know if you guys want to see like a tutorial on how I approach painting with markers. Some more Inktobers. I won't reveal it just yet, but one of these is Ohuhu markers, which I think for one is like $1. I'm making up the math. The other brand it's a cheaper brand, and it's like maybe 25 cents per marker. Can you guys tell the difference? I think like for a whole set, one of them was like $30 for 200 markers, and then for the Ohuhu one, it's like $100 for only 70 markers. Let me know if you can tell. I can also do a video comparing all the different markers I have. I like these colors. I've been very into green lately, and also orange. Orange and black is such a fun combo. These were some studies I did while watching Ranma 1/2 and more random doodles. Pokemon from memory. Oh, this is me experimenting with the cheaper brand. I think you can kind of tell. Well, I can tell because I've been using like many different markers throughout this whole book. We went to the Seattle Aquarium, so did some fishy studies. Fish and seal. Yeah, I think my favorite spreads are when I go out. This one is so chaotic. I don't know what's happening. And then that's the end of my book. Goodbye. This last page is not coded, so it actually bled through. But that's the end of my sketchbook tour. Let me know what you guys thought. If you're interested in getting your own sketchbook, I do have 5 designs available. I have these 3. There's 2 more on the way, but they all have the same type of coated paper, so you can go kind of crazy with the alcohol markers, including Copic and other brands. But these are my favorite designs, so I have these. But here are the other 2 designs as well. They will most likely be on my store in December and also at my next event in San Jose. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Like and subscribe, as they say. Okay, bye!